I grew up in Istanbul, and I was a little kid. My brother used to design women clothing, women shoes. That was the designer, but oldest brother. And the other brothers I have, they are machinists. And the time I started this jewelry part of it, I was in the 6th grade, and the principal of the school said, "Who wants to become a jeweler?" Guess what? I raised my hand. And because my parents were poor, okay, and we had to help our parents to survive, all of us, at that time. And then, because my mom always used to wash everything by hand, and she was sick and tired of it, and she would say, "I want one of you to bring me clean clothes, I can wash them easily." Because the others are machinists, it's all dirty, all oily. And she was washing everything by hand. We did not have a washing machine or dryer, nothing. This is, I'm talking about 1970s. I'll take it back, 1950s, okay? And then 12, I was approximately 11 years old. Then my principal of the school, he introduced me to her cousin in Kavrat Bazaar in Istanbul. That's the beginning of my career. And when I went there, this whole thing started with sweeping the floors, and they bring me some water from outside, because we had the fountain in Kavrat Bazaar. You take a bottle and you go fill up the water, you bring it in. That's the way it was in Kavrat Bazaar at that time. And that was great. And it was the part I liked it and I did not like it. For example, I would go there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and the Kavrat Bazaar door open up at 8 o'clock, and we go in and go to our place in there, the work area. Then we start working, sweeping the floors and learning how to pull the wires, make it harder, and make jump rings. And then I learned how to drill a hole for the gold filigree work, because those days we did not have a drill. And we used to take the sewing needle and we bring the point of it, and then we use it for a file and make it more flat, both sides of it, and have a little bit curve to it, and there's your drill. And then like the first thing I showed you there, I made this for my mom when I was 13 years old, and I'm going to show you all the drilling holes, how we drill them and then just cut them. You learning process, you have to cut straight. And that's the part then you do all day long. Not one day, not 2 days, weeks and months. Then that's how you start to build up the control of the saw blades. And then of course we have the torch, and we learn how to use the torch. Those days we had the torches with the gasoline, a little bit tank, and the air goes through it and comes to the torch, and then you use the control by, pumping it harder and lower. And that was so, to me, I'm looking back there, how wonderful that was. Isn't it weird? Anyway, but that's how I started to build up. Then later on, as of course I grew up, and I went to the army, and meantime, I have to show you something I did when I was 17 years old. It's all filigree work. I did not have the money to be able to fly from Istanbul to the United States. At the meantime, we had to get an okay from American consulate for the visa for me to be able to come in here. And my boss had a friend who's a diamond setter, and he had a friend who was a well-known jeweler, retail jeweler person in Istanbul at that time. And he asked $100,000 under my name, because American government, it's actually, it is embassy is asking for it. I have to have $100,000 in the bank. Then they want to make sure that I'm going to come back. I'm not going to go to USA and stay there. And as a favor, this gentleman put $100,000 under my name. Of course, all the paperwork under his hands, not on mine. And then the American consulate called him up and say, you have somebody named Kirkor, and you're sending him to USA for get ideas. And he says, I don't have anybody else like that. And he hung up the phone. But he realized afterwards, he says, shoot, this is, so-and-so is going to go. He calls back the American consulate and tells them, yes, we do have somebody else, but we did not know you guys are calling because other people are calling us. They want to get information out of our business, you know? And he covered that up. Then I got 45 days visa from US government. Then I came to New York. I entered New York. As I came in, and they look at me, I said, I have one-way ticket. They said, you know, when are you going to go back? You know, but I understand the back part of it. You know, fly back. I got that in English. And I said, me have brother in Los Angeles. He has money. This is me speaking in English, okay? And then your occupation. And at that time I heard that if you say you're a jeweler, they'll send you back. They didn't want to get the jewelers in town. Yeah, it was 1970. Then, and I opened the dictionary. Shoe salesman, you know, my occupation is a shoe salesman. And then they gave me 45 days stamp. That was so funny. But meantime, I'm sweating, I'm perspiring when they're asking this question, you know. I mean, I just want to be in, and I got in. Then I came to Los Angeles, and I had the older brother who was in Los Angeles, and I stayed at his house. And the second day, I want to go to Hollywood because Hollywood is Hollywood. And my brother had a car outside, and his wife's brother actually, and what his in-laws. Anyway, whatever it is, it's he had the car and he wasn't driving that. And I told my brother, I said, "Can I have that car? I'll drive it." They said, "There's a problem." I said, "I was in the army. I was a mechanic, and I fixed the carburetor. Took the car. Third day, being in the United States, I took the car. I want to go to Hollywood from Pico Riviera, and I'm driving on Pomona Freeway, and 101 it splits, goes to Hollywood, then the other one goes to Santa Monica. But I was on the left side of the road, and the funny thing was, like, I just missed the road. I said, I cannot go to the right, you know, and I stayed there, and I went out on the freeway. It says Soda Streets, and I went down, and I'm looking at around me. There's cars are going over me, and the South Pacific train is going inside on the downtown of, and I did not know what downtown was at the time. And it says in the map, downtown. And I look at the map, it shows the ocean. I said, I gotta go to the ocean. And I go there. Have you seen the movie called Mad? That's my favorite movie, comedy. Then I just, I went there. I'm looking for the W on that movie. And whole movie came to my mind. I was 16 years old when I saw that movie. Then I came back. I took my brother, my nieces. I said, "You're going to go Santa Monica," because that post, it reminded me of Istanbul coastline, you know. And we went there. We spent time. Came back next day. Took the Highway 101. Went to Hollywood Bowl, and then I saw Steve McQueen movie. I'm just living all those movies. Then we had I showed them that too, and we had a great time. Then I met one of my teachers' cousin, who was working in Los Angeles in Beverly Hills and make jewelry for Van Cleef and Arpels. And then I started to work with him. You know, I said, "I'll help you out." And $75 a week. And that's how I started with him. Then he said, with his wife, he says, "We're going to sell some jewelry. We're going to go to Carmel and San Francisco." For me, I don't know anything about Carmel, but I know San Francisco. And we have Doris Day movie. I have to see the Golden Gate Bridge. And then we came to Carmel. At that time, 1970, there were only 6 jewelry stores in town. Then we started to sell some jewelry. None of them, you know, they weren't interested. They were high-end pieces. Then we ended up with a place called Gold Crucible on 5th and Dolores Street. Right now there's a big hole there. And Ron Henches. And he said there's a jewelry outlet. They sell jewelry to Westfield for different names. They are looking for a jeweler. And my friend told me, says, "What do you think about this town?" I said, "Are you kidding me? This reminds me of part of islands in Istanbul. Reminds me of Switzerland." I said, "Tell him, I don't speak English. I don't have a place to stay. I don't have a car. And he has to sign the papers for Labor Department, then for the immigrations." And Ron, he said, "No problem. None of them." They said, "As long as you make this jewelry." I said, "No problem." And then I went back to LA find an attorney. We send the papers here, paperwork, and then Ron says, before I send them, why don't you come up here? I want to try you, which is legit. I said, okay. I took Greyhound bus, came to Monterey. At the time, there was a San Carlos hotel. It's $12.50. And I stayed there a whole week. And then I came to the shop and I started to work for them. He gave me a project. I finished them, one after another. Friday morning, I said, Ron, you give me stone, I make design. This is my English going on there. And he says, pick up whatever you want. I pick up one opal and I put 24 diamonds. Like Princess, I had the sapphire one, identical design with wire, with thin wire. It took me one day to finish it. And first time in my lifetime I set stones. That was the beginning of stone setting. First time. Then he said $12.50 an hour. You can start. I'll take it. Then I went back. Then I came 2 months later. I came here. Then he had the store for me on 7th Street here between San Carlos and Dolores and Silver Street right now. And above that, $75 a month I was paying there. Then I started working for him, and I brought a friend of mine afterwards, a year later, and he came to Carmel. And then I told Ron, I started to go to Monterey High School at night, and I told Ron at this point I'm studying, and meantime I'm working. And he gave me the shop key, and I'm working until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And I just go from 5th Street to 7th Street to go, come home and sleep. Lunch breaks are the same way. And then I told Ron, I work for you until I get my green card. Then I open my own shop. He says, oh, no problem. And that's that agreement. Then 1973, I got my green card. And I told Ron, I said, Ron, do you remember I told you I will get my green card, I open my shop? Yeah, but you cannot quit. I said, I don't have to quit. I said, I can still work for you, but in my shop, not in your office. And he looked at me and says, okay. Then because some of the designs I made there, I already know the whole line, what we have there. Then I don't have any customers. I opened the shop, but I'm doing things for Gold Crucible. Then I start to build up clients slowly. And meantime, I look for other jewelry stores. They want repair jobs. Door to door I went, and all the way to Salinas to get some jobs because I'm 24 years old at this point. And then when I opened the shop, then I started to get clients in. That's the beginning of my career going up after that. And that was 1973, and I was just going forward. And my business grew every year. Then same token though, I had help. I had a lady friend of mine, Joanne Matthewson, and she was working for a TV station. And we become friends, and she asked me, says, would you like to come and I interview you on the TV? And I said, fine, but I said, I have a hard time to speak English anyway. But I said, how are you going to help me out? And she goes, well, I'll ask you questions, and we can bring me some jewelry. I'll help you out the way put together. And I went there, it's half an hour program, coffee time with Joanne Matthewson. I never forget that. And then it was great, and I started to get people from Salinas. And so many people, they started to come in, and I was like so happy, and I was working from 8 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. That was my time. I'm only 26 years old at this point. I mean, I can do it, And then I learned a lot from my clients. They said, when you work hard, don't expect you're going to get retired and travel. Travel while you're young. I never forget that. And I took that word because I said, okay, I have to live my life the way I'm supposed to. Then working straight 6 months, then I started to forget things. Customer came in, I discussed something, and then I started to forget. I said, okay, this is the time I'm stopping. And I took my time off, and I went to Brazil, Carnival. Had a great time and came back. Then after that, I said, okay, I'm going to work only 8 hours a day. Then I started from there. But of course, there were occasions, people, they would like they are getting married. We want the wedding bands in 3 days. No problem, I'll finish it, And I have great stories about that too. One of them is this gentleman came. This is 1976, 7, and he's looking for a white gold wedding band. And there's no white gold those days. Everything was yellow gold. And it's Saturday, at around 10 o'clock. And I said, what are you looking for? He said, I'm looking for a wedding band, white gold. I said, we don't have white gold. I mean, nobody gets white gold. I said, I said, I'll make you one. He says, but you don't understand. He says, I'm getting married today. I said, you're kidding me, right? Why didn't you wait until 12 o'clock and look for the wedding band? I said, are you kidding me? He goes, no, my wedding is at 1 o'clock at the Highlands Inn. And I said, okay. And I said, I'll bring it to you. And I sat down, I met the gold, I made the ring, and I went there. When not the priest, but the person who, I think she was a lawyer, and marrying them, she asked for the wedding ring, right? And he's a little bit higher altar than I was, right behind him. He was looking back there to look for me, and I go, excuse me, is that what you're looking for? He came down from the altar, hugged me, kissed me, got the ring and presented to her. I thought that was a fantastic story. And we become friends after that. I mean, I met his parents, they live in Florida, and it was an amazing time for me, and I used to go there, and the airplane used to fly, you know, all those different places. Then all things started from there and on. There were times when kind of my name started to come out more and more. People are acknowledging, and there were some of the clients those days. Since I'm 27 years old, 28 years old, I had people from Pebble Beach, lovely ladies, over 80s. They come dress up, decked out with jewelry and beautiful hat, and they will park here, and they come to my shop. We spend 2-3 hours together. I take them to Red Lion, we used to have here bar, and they'll get the straight scotch, and I go like, wait a minute. I said, they said, oh, this is good, enjoy it. I said, I cannot drink, I'm working, you know. But because of those people, I learn a lot, history of their lives, and those are the little things I learned. It make me go forward in my life. Another thing helped me a lot was Mr. Ramsey, owner of the Highlands Inn, and I used to go there with my friends, and they knew me, all the bartenders, everybody else there, and Mr. Ramsey introduced me to his guests. They are there for honeymoon or what have you. He will say best jewelry store in Carmel, etc., etc. And everybody had something in my life. You know, it helped me. And 1977, they built this location here, and where I'm at this point in San Carlos between Ocean and 7. Before I was close to the street, I was in the west side of the San Carlos, and now I'm I was in east side of the San Carlos. I'm in west side of the San Carlos right now. And Bud Clark built this area, and he asked me to come here. I want a 20-year contract for the lease, and I want a 20-year option. If you can give me those two, I'll come. And he says, no problem. And that's the time I came here. 1977, I'm in this store. And then same token, time passed by, and Bekmejian was the governor, it's Armenian, and governor of California. And then I did a couple things for him, and I presented to him in Sacramento. And that was beginning of like kind of me being outside of my shop, like doing things for others. Then time passed by. Then 1980s, President Reagan, when he got shot, he lost one of his cufflink, and then they sent me the cufflink back from Washington D.C. to Carmel because Mrs. Reagan got that cufflink 1968, which I wasn't here, from Henri Corbat, used to be a Swiss jeweler, and they thought that was me, but I'm not because I have an accent anyway, and he had a French accent. So I made the mold on that particular cufflink, and I sent it to Washington D.C. for President Reagan to have it. Then I kept the mold on that, and the time came up. Then with the time passed by, then John Paul II was going to come in here, and I said I'm going to do something for him and represent Carmel by the sea. But before we came to that point, 1978 or 79, Carmel Mission wanted me to make a chalice for the Pope at the time. I don't remember the name of that Pope, And then they want me to make a chalice, and I draw the sketches of that, gold and silver, and a few stones here and there. And they said they supply me the gold, and they brought me a 200 years old cross for me to melt them. I said, "Are you guys out of your mind?" I said, "Who am I to even touch this beautiful piece to melt them?" I said, "It's not gonna happen. I don't care." He said, "It's not gonna happen." Then they acknowledged that they realized what they are doing, and they just kept it back there. Then 19, I think when John Paul II was coming here, then I found that out, and I said, okay, I want to do something for him, from me, not from the church, but what I want. I went to a museum in Carmel Mission, and they had the cross of John Paul II. I mean, Father Junipero Serra's cross he was buried with. I saw that piece. I used that same design, patriarchal design. There's a big story about that. I made the cross, and John Paul II was going to come here to Carmel Mission, and Bishop Shupsla said, you can present it to him here, but then Secret Service, they said, I cannot go to him, he has to come to me. At that point, I wasn't happy about it. Then I said, you know what? I went to Bishop, I said, Bishop, I'll tell you one thing. Get clearance for me. I go to Vatican, I'll present it to him in Vatican. And he says, be glad to. Then he did it. Then with my wife, and went to Rome, and they asked us to be there 5 days before the ceremony. I said that will be fine, and we had a great time there. And the day we went to Vatican, this gentleman came and gave us the information how we are going to go in there, not waiting in line, etc., to go certain doors. We did that. And I had a private audience with John Paul II, with my wife, and I said, something we're never going to forget the rest of our lifetimes, because we did not take any pictures, we got nothing, we remember that. And same day, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, this gentleman comes in. He says, Mr. Kocek, I go, yes. He says, I'm so-and-so from Vatican. I'm the Vatican cameraman. I have these pictures for you. He took the pictures, the ones I have in my shop right now on the wall. And then I just said, okay, I want to pay for it. They go, no, this is gift from Vatican to you, but you can donate. I said, no problem. And I did it. And that was so cute. I loved it. And then the person was working for me at the time, and she already called the Monterey Herald, before I left, and why I went. I made this cross, and then after I came back, they wrote the big article on the cover page. Carmel jeweler present the cross to John Paul II, etc., etc., and that put me on the map also. That was very nice. I just felt good about it. But then after I came back, I started to have a few, like Mexicans, they came here. They want to touch my hand because on the picture, John Paul is touching my hand. And first couple minutes, it was weird for me, but then I got the whole deal. Then it was so beautiful, and their children and everybody else. And that's another one. Then the last one was after the Pope. Then we were business grew, and I worked with Clint Eastwood quite a bit, and when he was a mayor, because I was on the business association, 1990s, I believe, and then he got involved with the Kinship Center in Salinas, and then we all started to work on that, and we started to give donations and help to build the building there, and that helps a lot for the children in terms of, from one parents to another parents, because some of them were dead, some of them are in jail or what have you, and that's the part I'm always support of that. It helps me a lot. After that, years later, another thing is I got involved, besides being in the Rotarian, and Rancho Cielo, which is another place which I support from day one. And the Judge Philip, he wanted to have a place to get. He was tired of putting the kids on the juvenile hall, and that was his thing. When this property was available, then he got an idea, and he went to Canary company, which is Bert Coutinho and Ted Ballesteri. And they asked them, you know, we need some people to teach the children how to cook. And Bert Coutinho says, okay, we need a building. And they said, we have the building, but we need the kitchen equipments. Bert Coutinho says, no problem. They put all the kitchens, everything in there, and then he told all the friends of the chefs, you know, once a week they donate them their time, you know, to teach how to cook for the kids. Then they learn how to serve, how to cook, how to clean, you know, all those things. It started like that. But today, Rancho Cielo grew so much. Now they have introduced, they can work on the cars, they can work on the buildings, they can build and the plumbing, and they can grow things. And ag business is the one they support from A to Z. They write checks right and left, big numbers and big checks for them. And that's another thing is it's just that again when we do fundraising, and I always donate something, and my name comes out there, and that is kind of, you know, I'm, as they say, like more you give, more you get, and that's what happens for me, and I'm so lucky, and it just it happens, and I work hard, but I build up the good community in here. This is my home, you know, and I think I'm there.